Here's Brody Brazil.
Okay, what's next? We're doing like that, huh? We're going straight from the A's to the Giants. Now, I realize a lot of you are just looking at the screen right now, seeing a Giants logo and seeing Brody Brazil, and you're flipping out. You're freaking out. Like, this doesn't work. These two things don't belong together. Is this guy going to just sit there and talk bad about these guys? No. This is the state of all the Bay Area teams. It's the series. I'm genuinely, I live here. I'm interested. I have tons of friends that love the Giants. I know people that work for the Giants. No hard feelings. Come on. Let's get past the petty stuff. No, I'm here to be serious in my state of the San Francisco Giants. And again, I'm just being honest here, but it's quite the contrast to go from 107 wins to last year 81 and 81. And I have to hand it to Giants fans, because even down the stretch of last year, all this conversation of, well, we could find a way into the wild card. We could get into the playoffs. And they never said die until it was mathematically impossible. So I do give the fans credit for being eternally optimistic. But from 107 wins, in that year, in 2021, so many things went right. And it was Buster's last season, and it just, things clicked for them. Their pitching was phenomenal. To kind of come down to earth this last year, it raises a lot of unfortunate, realistic questions. Did you overperform in one year? What's the trend? What's the direction of this team? And how many players can you keep? The Cuetos and the Rodons and all that stuff. Times change, right? You don't get to keep your team and necessarily always have a second chance at it. And I just want to say, speaking of the last couple weeks here, specifically the last week, missing out on the addition of Aaron Judge to your team, not the worst thing in the world. I saw so much pessimism on social media. I saw so much angst, how the Giants are always the bridesmaids or whatever the terminology is, and they didn't get Harper and they didn't get Ohtani, and they keep going after all these players, and they try and land the biggest fish and they never do. Okay. Hold your horses for just a second here. It doesn't always work that way. We know that you are an attractive franchise. You've had your share of winning in the last decade. You've got a great city and a great ballpark, and you're willing to spend, and there's a lot of upside. I get it. I totally get it. But if you had gone into the long-term deal with Aaron Judge, how does that look in year 6 and 7 and 8? He's 31 right now. I mean, guy's getting a contract till he's basically 40 years old. Did you really want to get into this? And were you well built enough to support an Aaron Judge? He is the centerpiece. He would be your backbone. Can you do you have enough money and resources to build around Aaron Judge? I'm just saying, and the contract and the amount and everything would be criticized. He would have to play up to the level he did last year, seemingly every single year. And I'm not wishing him ill, and I'm not wishing the Yankees frustrations in all of this. But this is a different situation for the Giants had they actually landed this than the Yankees in keeping him. So I'm here to talk Giants fans down a little bit and saying, I don't think you see it, but I see it from the outside. You are upset about Aaron Judge. You got emotionally invested. You saw the John Heyman tweet when Arson Judge. This is so funny. I mean, the misspelling was so ridiculous. But I get it. You got into it and it didn't work. But trust me on this one. You're better off in the long run, in the very long run, not going that direction. You want to build a team. And I get to the next point here. You have a platform, the ballpark, the money that you can spend, a little bit of the history. Farhan, in his experience as a GM in building teams from the ground up with some thought and with some background and with some strategy, you just need the content now for which is the team, right? You've got all these things going on which make you a great location to excel. Now you just need the team to go along with it. But I do want to say, thinking about the team, what I think often is a misstep here by the Giants fans and fan base is that the realization hasn't kicked in that 2010, 12, and 14, like, were more than 10 years ago now. In fact, 2014 pretty soon is going to be 10 years removed. And there is some feeling like there's still some leftover magic, or that you're still on that run, or we're on that extended run and we just hit a bad streak for a while. Like, I get it. Some of you say, I don't feel that way. What are you talking about? I'm just saying I've observed enough sentiment in that direction, and I want to help those people who still are feeling tied to that. That was last decade, like literally and figuratively. Okay, more on the big picture. If you're the Giants, I've said you have the platform, you've got the right, and you're building, like Mitch Haniger and Sean Manaea, great additions. Those are the kinds of directions that this team needs to go. Build a team. Don't just build an Aaron Judge and some surrounding pieces. Build an absolute team. That's what 2010 and 12 and 14 were, right? There was the star players, and obviously with Bumgarner and Buster, and like Marco Scutaro was one of your heroes. Was he Aaron Judge? Like, think about that for just a second. Think about all of the Travis Ishikawas, like all those names that jumped in there and stepped up. They always weren't the Aaron Judges. But I skipped over the NL West. I mean, look, it is not enviable at all to be in the same division as the Dodgers and Padres right now. You gotta be kidding me, right? What they're doing, what they're spending on, how they're spending. So I'm just saying you don't necessarily have to be a copycat in how they're trying to put their baseball team together. I also want to point out here, what has been a very impressive backbone of this team for a long time. It's hard to believe Brandon Crawford has 12 years of Major League Baseball under his belt. He's only played with the Giants. He's only played defensively as a shortstop 1,561 games as I record this right now. So you still have him. There is something left there. Still playing some of his better baseball, to be quite honest with you. I hope Giants fans realize how fortunate they are to have him as a huge piece. Okay, so the prognosis on the Giants. They could have a winning record next year. They could take some steps. I mean, they were 500 this last year. So, yeah, I could see improvement, no doubt. But where is that going to get you? Probably not winning the division based on who else is in it. A wild card spot, which is a tough way to exist in the playoffs, right? But you also have to be good in your division, right? To even have you're going to play the Dodgers and Padres a lot, and other difficult teams a lot. So it's going to probably count on or rely on counting on a wild card spot. I already said this. Yeah, you don't have to spend like the Padres and Dodgers to win the division. Giants fans, look, I know you don't want to hear this from the A's guy, but look how the Oakland A's do it, right? I mean, in their division, and even going back all the years, like Texas, they've always spent a ton on big names. And Seattle here and there would, and the Angels have, like the Angels, look at them. Trout and Ohtani, Trout for a bunch of years, Ohtani for now, quite a few, enough. Trout's been to one playoff series, and he got swept in it by the Royals in 2014, never won a playoff game. So you can do this, Giants. You just need to go a different direction than what the other teams are doing. And honestly, my last point I'll leave it with here, a prognosis for the Giants, what they're doing, it can work out. But it might take a while. It might take a few more years than Giants fans want.